Okay, we're live. We're doing that thing where we're pretending like,
Oh.
we're live. Oh,
Yeah. We have a show?
yeah,
Question mark? It still doesn't have a name, but we have a show?
yeah. Hello, Ramley and other
Yeah.
NFL family. I'm Peota. I'm without a beard this week, and I'm joined by none other than Rams House.
What's
How's
up?
it going,
I am doing good. How are you doing?
dude? I'm good because it's Friday, and then third week in a row.
Oh, yeah.
That means we are on a 3-week streak of doing this show.
We're undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated, 3-0 on the show. Yeah,
I like that.
I like it too. And for those of you, I know the millions of people who are like, are they gonna announce the name of the show? No, not yet.
This has turned out to be a longer process than what we'd expect.
Yeah,
But we appreciate all your suggestions for sure.
yeah, we definitely have had some incredible suggestions that like there's some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, we should do that, and then other days I'm like that, and
Yeah.
it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
It will. It's like your opinions on it kind of change like the weather does.
Yeah.
It's like it just, it's fluid. It's changing. We haven't landed on anything yet, but we feel like it's coming soon for sure.
Okay, but no. If anything, they are too good. They're too good.
That's the thing. We have so many options. It's like, which one do we pick? That's the thing.
Oh man, Pale. Oh, that's a fun one, Sheriff Joe.
That's this little blending of the two. I like it.
Oh, man. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Whether you're with us here live or on the replay, we're glad you tuned on in. We're gonna have some fun Rams versus Colts game preview talk. We're gonna go into our segments of over Rams actions and also what's more likely, but it's just the Rams. And we're just gonna nerd out about the Rams. Sound good to you, Rams house?
Yeah, I'm so down. I've been ready for this all week.
Yeah. But I love how we're getting some good suggestions here.
Yeah.
Well, Rams says I'm sure we'll talk about the Eagles a little bit here, but let's before we talk about the Eagles, let's talk about the Colts, because that's what's coming up. That's what I'm excited about. And you and I were just talking off camera. This has been a really fun week learning about the Colts. I know obviously I want the Rams to destroy them and beat them on Sunday, but it's been fun hearing about the Colts. They're one of the cooler stories of the NFL season. They're probably the biggest surprise, through 3 weeks when there was not an NFL fan out there that was like, oh yeah, Indianapolis Colts, they're starting up 3-0. What have you thought about their 3-0 start? I know you had a great game preview video where you kind of highlighted why they are so good.
Yeah, I think it's been really fun to learn about this Colts team, as you mentioned, because they have been kind of in that mediocre place for a while, kind of in transition at quarterback for a while. And heading into the year, this game is a game I looked at and I was circling this is an easy win. If this is a game you don't have to play, just circle the Rams. They're going to win this one. But you see the 3-0 start that they have, and you start to ask questions is this for real? Is this a fluke? What's going on here? And they're definitely not a fluke. They're a really good team. They have some crazy stats out there that I talked about on my preview there. So definitely one of the cool surprises in the NFL this year. I feel like we have one of those teams every single year. And this is definitely one of those teams, while I'm not a Colts fan, after we get done with the Rams and Colts game on Sunday, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how the Colts story plays out the rest of the year. It's such a fun story to be able to follow. So definitely surprised me, but they're definitely for real also. They're not a fluky 3-0 in my opinion.
No, I 100% agree with that. And especially the word efficiency, I think when it comes to the Colts, right? Especially on offense, right? They haven't turned the ball over. They've only punted once all season long in 3 games, which is crazy. And it's just, you look at the efficiency of Jonathan Taylor, of Daniel Jones, of Michael Pittman Jr., and you got to respect that, right?
Yeah. Seriously, that's the thing too. It's you'd think coming into a game like this that if you just do this one thing, if you shut this one thing down, they're going to be peril. There's not going to be much chance for them. but they're running the ball and throwing the ball really well. And so
Mhm.
like this whole offense, they use all their playmakers. They're very efficient, as you mentioned. I think they're like 34 points a game at this point, which who would have thought that coming into the year? So
Yeah.
definitely going to be a fun one to track. I have a hard time like predicting a score in this one just because like I have a lot of confidence in this Rams defense and how good they've looked even with the collapse that they had against the Eagles. But I'm also like this Colts offense really hasn't shown any reason to be like they're going to be shut down. So
Yeah.
a shootout, who knows? This is crazy.
This game absolutely has the makings for a barn burner. Like I could see both teams getting into the 30s in this game. I said on my
Yeah.
video earlier this week.
Yeah. Definitely. I think coming into it, I was like thinking somewhere around the range of 27-20 in the Rams win. But by the end of it, I'm like, this could be more like 30-27. This could be like a lot of offense, and whoever is, I think somebody said it in my comments best of like, whoever turns over the football is going to be the one that loses because both offenses are going to be so good in this game. So very excited for sure.
Yeah, I'm just looking up here. So the Rams really haven't played Daniel Jones a whole lot. I only see twice in his career, once in 2021 and once in 2020.
Mhm.
Rams were able to win those. I like it, but at the same time, I feel like Daniel Jones has kind of proven there's more wrong with the Giants than there are with him.
Yeah. I kind of feel for Giants fans in that way. It feels like a lot of their players that aren't doing too hot go to another team and just perform. And it's
Yep.
like, well, I don't believe Daniel Jones is going to be a guy who's like top 5 quarterback by the end of the year, like no doubt about it, that kind of thing. I also don't think he's going to revert back all to what he's been doing on or what he did on the Giants, just because the situation around him is so much better, from the offensive line to the skill positions that they have to the coaching, which makes a huge difference. And I think I talked about this earlier in the week. Confidence for a quarterback is such a big thing. And if you're lacking the confidence, and if you're kind of like down in the depths in that area, it's hard to get it back, especially like in a New York team with the fan base who is just clearly not a fan of Daniel Jones at the end of it.
Yep.
So now I think we're seeing something similar to what Sam Darnold went through last year, where his confidence was just skyrocketing each week because of the situation, because of the support behind the fan base. And sometimes I just think you need those kind of resets to be able to get back on your feet and get moving like Daniel Jones has.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Sam Darnold because I actually was going to share. I had kind of that thought of last year, the Rams were playing a red hot Vikings team, and they were able to beat them on a Thursday night game. I know the Byron Young,
Yeah.
got rid of, but like there's some parallels there. You got a quarterback who was cast off by his former team. He's trying to revive his career. Starts off pretty hot with his team. I do like the Rams having the opportunity to face the Colts here and now, in September still. And I'm not sure about I don't think the Rams are going to be able to like shut out the Colts or anything like that. Like you got to respect what this Colts offense is doing.
Mhm.
But I do think the Rams can be the biggest test that this Colts team has faced all season long. And that starts with the defensive line. What do you think? What are your expectations for, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Josiah Stewart and company?
That's a very interesting thing that I've been thinking about a lot, actually, because I've found out from a lot of Colts fans that this offensive line is really good, and they really haven't given up. I don't remember if they've given up a sack yet, if they have, it's been like very few. And so their offensive line in Indianapolis is always really good. And so to see like a strength versus strength in this case, I think for the Rams to have a good day in terms of getting sacks and a bunch of QB pressures, they're going to have to slow down or stop Jonathan Taylor, because I think if this Colts offense is balanced enough, I don't think we see a crazy performance from the defensive line. But I also think a lot of Colts fans may be overlooking what this Rams defensive line can do,
Mhm.
because I hear a lot of them saying that the Broncos defense is by far like much better than the Rams. And I think that's kind of reactionary to what happened against the Eagles last week. But if you look at it, I mean, going into half, they only had 7 points. And the weeks before that, we held both the Titans and the Texans to very few points. And so I think there's definitely an opportunity for this defensive line to be able to I think they're going to make a bigger impact than any other team has yet on Daniel Jones. But I don't know if I see like a sack party coming in. I think if that were to happen, you'd have to get up on them early and like begin to put your foot on their neck a little bit. Uh, but I don't know how many sacks I end up seeing in this game. I just think it's going to be more of a like eye test. You see the pressures they're making. You see
Yeah.
how they're like kind of getting into Daniel Jones' face more than it will be about like a bunch of sacks.
Well, and hey, if the Rams D line is getting pressure on the quarterback and that forces, ill-advised throws that can generate into, interceptions or, third and long situations, I'm game for that. Like nothing wrong with that at all, right?
Yeah, I think Sheriff Joe Bags talked about it this week on his podcast. He's was talking about how the Colts have rarely got into a position where they're in a third and long scenario.
Yeah.
And in the third and long scenarios, they aren't doing the best, as most teams probably wouldn't do the best on third and long. And so I think it's really going to be about the Rams putting them in those situations, putting a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones to have to be the guy to make those kinds of throws and making sure that the down and distances on third down are far enough to where our pass rush can impact things rather than it being like, oh, here's a third and 1, here's a third and 2, here's a third and 3, where they could do a lot of different things. So I think it's definitely going to be one of the most important things is going to be making sure that you get them into those third and long scenarios more than anything.
Yeah. I got a couple of comments here that I want to just bring into our conversation. Again, appreciate everyone tuning on in and commenting here. But we'll talk briefly about the Eagles thing. But I want to bring up here that Steve Avila is projected to play. Really excited about that. When that got confirmed today, I was pretty stoked. How much of a piece of this Rams offense is Steve Avila, do you think?
Oh, I think it's a huge piece, especially considering just what he's brought to this team. I think the biggest, I guess what you could say is weakness for Steve Avila so far with the Rams has been his health.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you don't want to see injuries like that play out. But if you were to have a weakness, that being the weakness is obviously where you want to be. I think Avila is very talented. He helps keep this group together. Obviously he's a starting offensive lineman for the Rams. I am curious to see, like, if he ends up coming back this week, like, will we see anything similar to like a player coming back and kind of switching up the rotation of the offensive line to where there could be miscommunications or there could be just some rest to knock off? Obviously, they practice in camp together, but I think Steve Avila is definitely a big piece, especially when you're going up against a good interior with a guy like DeForest Buckner. So hopefully he can play, and hopefully things go without a hitch there from training camp.
Well, and I just feel like, especially when they run like Kyron up the middle, Steve is just such a mauler, right?
Yeah.
Like he's someone that can really open up that gap, and it may not break out the big run, but he gets, that 4 or 5 yards on first down, and he's a big reason why, right?
And he's like a very big energy guy for the Rams.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched his mic'd ups and stuff, like he's a guy you want out there on the field. He keeps the vibes up and very good teammate there. So definitely, if we were to get him back this week, which is looking like it's trending towards that, I think really the only biggest concern you'd have is maybe just throwing him in there and changing up the offensive lineup a little bit. But the Rams have already done that the last couple of weeks by putting in backups and kind of shuffling things around. So I don't think it'll be too like dramatic of a difference in terms of going in a negative direction.
Totally. I see a lot of good comments in here about the Eagles, lost game. We'll shout out a couple people. I see Steven Evans still hurting from. I hear you, Steven. I hear you. I love this comment here from the Rams. Don, awesome profile pic. Rams are a few inches away from everyone having an entirely different conversation. Absolutely. Yeah. And then Juno here saying, and nowhere had to rage. I was so ticked, man. Yeah. I was frustrated that, this is talking to YouTube a little bit, everyone here, but as NFL content creators, our most viewed videos are the like reaction to the losses from rival fans. And I don't know about you, but my most viewed video ever came this week from my before and after video of the Rams Eagles game. All week long, I've had Eagles fans just trolling my comment section. Some of them are cool. So like they say GG and stuff like that. But I guess where are you at in like the loss to the Eagles. It's a week 3. You don't need to make it bigger than it has to be. But where are you at with the Eagles loss here on the Friday after that game?
Yeah, for me, this was oddly enough not as hard of a loss to be able to get over than I thought with the way it went. And maybe it was because like in the second half, you could kind of feel the momentum swinging and you're kind of thinking in your head, worst case scenario could play out of the Eagles coming back. But for me, it's frustrating. This is very uncharacteristic for a Rams team under Sean McVay. You don't see them lose leads like this. So I would say I was more shocked in the moment at what was happening. And it took about a day to get over there. But when I look back at it with just like a little bit of perspective, you realize how dominant the Rams were looking in the first half and how many things that they were not executing on that normally they do well, to where it's like, it's not like the Rams lost this game because this position is so weak. Like we need to go out and make an upgrade. It's like there are a lot of those fundamental execution things that we just weren't doing well. Yeah. And you credit the Eagles for being able to stick in there and come back in this game. But I think that it shows a lot of what the Rams can do, especially if they can play a full game like I expect them to be able to do. And it just shows a lot of the potential that they have. I think that as long as this kind of mistake isn't repeatable, which I don't expect it to be, I really don't see this impacting a lot of things other than potentially getting the number 1 seed or like playoff seeding stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's to have a little bit of adversity in the season can always help a team just mentally stay strong in there. So definitely just excited for this week. I'm kind of ready to get past this Eagles stuff and to see a different Rams game for sure.
Yeah, and that's something I appreciate about the Rams, and we've talked about this before, how the Rams definitely draft a lot of high character, high grit guys. And you see it from Sean McVay. You've seen it from Stafford this week in his presser, in Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams was fiery in his post game presser, and I like that. I don't like that the Rams lost, but I like the response after the loss. Right, like the last thing you want is just your team to just be like, yeah, that's the way it is, bounce their way. They were like, no, like, okay, credit the Eagles. They made plays, but we don't like that. We want to improve on it. We want to take this. We want to put it into, our work. And when I think back to that game, when the game ended, initially I was like, man, like if the Rams just could have made a couple plays, they could have won that game. And then I realized the Rams totally made all the plays they needed to win that game. Even with 2 opportunities to kick a field goal that would have probably put the game away, and they both got blocked, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunate, but that's not like a situation where the team kind of just conked out or gave up or something. That's the Eagles making a really good play. So I am optimistic that this Rams team can take on the Eagles teams in the playoffs. And I hope they get that opportunity to, for sure. It definitely will be annoying if it comes down to at the end of the year, like, seeding and this one game kind of impacts it there. But hey, that's the way it is. And I would say, even though I've been reminded daily this week from Eagles fans commenting on my video, that I'm looking forward to the rest of this Rams season. I think they're still a really good team. I think this Rams team is going to win a lot of games. And I don't even know if we know how good this team actually is. Like, still think we said this last week. I still think the Rams' best football is in front of them, and that might start on Sunday. That's
the exciting thing about it too, because we usually start slower than we do starting hot. So to think about all the things that we like, even just something as simple as the Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams connection. Yeah. Like we've seen those highlights from it, but it can get so much better. And that they're going to be connecting on those things to just by mid-season. And some of those plays can make and break like a game in that way. Yeah. And so I definitely agree with you. We haven't seen the Rams at their peak, which is good. You don't want to hit your peak way too early and then kind of tail off like the Cardinals do. But yeah, I definitely think that the best football is ahead of the Rams. And that's what's exciting about this season for sure.
Yeah. Let's maybe touch on this here. I see this comment from Rams Mob. Terrence Ferguson, that was a surprise scratch on Sunday.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about that? Here we are Friday after the fact.
Uh, Honestly, this Ferguson situation is like interesting to monitor, given the fact that we took him so high, and also given the fact that they said that they would take him at 26,
Yeah.
like they were considering doing that, and so I find this situation very confusing to be like. I'm kind of wondering if it's a matchup kind of thing, like we've talked about with Tutu out. Well, if it just depends on the team they're playing or what, but that definitely surprised me a little bit. McVay has talked about the depth that we have at tight end, but to me, when I look at our tight ends, I don't look at it and say like we have a really, really good tight end one and then some good depth behind it to where he's not getting on the field. To me, there's not really a guy that's like super like keeping him off the field in the sense of like, oh, you can't take this guy off the field because he's been doing so well. I think McVay's talked about the blocking needing to improve for Terrence Ferguson, and that's a huge thing for a Rams tight end for sure.
Yeah.
But he also did like talk about even just this week talking about him missing time in the training camp has definitely made a little bit of a difference because he was able to lose out on some of those reps, and those went to Davis Allen and to Colby Parkinson. So very confusing, but I also don't think it's a thing like he's just a bust. Like I
Yeah.
think you got to give him time, and they're still working him in. The good thing is the Rams aren't so desperate for tight end right now where they need to throw in a guy who's not ready, and I
Yeah.
think that's the most positive thing from the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where my thought is specifically this game, just because leading up to this Colts game, I've heard so much about Tyler Warren, who's lighting it
Yeah,
up, as a rookie tight end. And there's a part of you that's like, man, it'd be cool if like our rookie tight end was lighting it up, right?
yeah,
But at the same time, I think if Terrence Ferguson's development is just his first year, he does have games where he's sat like that, or he's only on special teams. Really, maybe that's best for him long term, right? Because
mhm,
the reality is Tyler Higbee, love him, getting up there, right?
mhm.
And we know he's not prime Higgs anymore, right? And though he's still productive, he's not catching touchdowns the way that Davis Allen is, right?
Yeah, the
um,
general.
yeah, the general. Yeah. But no, I definitely think that Terrence Ferguson is a player that we can continue to monitor, and I think that it might be for his rookie year. We see flashes later on towards the end of the
Mhm.
season, and then it's like, oh, year two, Terrence Ferguson. That's who we were waiting for.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more of a long-term investment than it is a like we brought in Terrence Ferguson because we need a tight end this year to win a Super Bowl. And the most interesting part to me about this is like even the tight ends that are on the field right now with Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, like we know Davis Allen has gotten those touchdowns, but really the Rams aren't using their tight ends at this moment. Like even Tyler Higbee, I've been surprised with the low targets that he's had. So it's like even if Terrence Ferguson is out there, would he even be getting targets? Because
Yeah.
the Rams aren't really utilizing their tight ends right now. That could change this game, who knows? But up to this point, you really haven't seen a game where it's like, man, I'm glad we have our tight ends out there right now. It just doesn't seem to be a focal point of the offense at this point.
Well, and I'll be honest, if I were to say what my biggest like kind of disappointment of this Rams team so far is that underutilization of the tight end position. Just because in my mind, we signed Devontae Adams, we draft Terrence Ferguson, and those were moves made to improve the red zone efficiency.
Mhm.
And not that they still can't do that, but it's frustrating, especially in a game like the Eagles, where the Rams settle for a lot of field goals, right? Where really you make even one of those field goals a touchdown, it's a different game. Rams could have possibly won, and
Mhm.
so I definitely have lowered my expectations for this tight end room in terms of being involved in the passing game. And Terrence Ferguson, still cheering him on. I still think he's got all the potential in the world. It definitely, you don't like seeing your second round draft pick be wearing street clothes on game day, right?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to because there hasn't, other than Josiah Stewart, there really hasn't been a rookie Ram this year that you're like, man, I'm so glad we have him, or like he's making an impact. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing to show that the Rams have good depth all across the roster. And it's harder for a Rams rookie to be able to make an impact because of all the depth that we end up having. So I definitely think it's.
I think part of that is we had just such a small draft class compared to previous years.
That's a good point. But part of the reason like that draft class is so small is because of the depth we already had. Like, you didn't need to go out and allocate like 14 draft picks into a draft class like we did before, just to kind of like fill out the roster a little bit. So definitely encouraging. I think Terrence Ferguson is going to make his impact for sure. It's more a matter of it's more of a matter of when and like what that time is rather than like, are the Rams ever going to do it in my mind?
Yeah. Continuing to just talk about the Rams passing attack here. Let's talk about some of our other wide receivers here. We know Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are going to do their thing. Probably the best wide receiver tandem in football right now. What are your thoughts, though, on Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington? Have you liked what you've seen, specifically out of Whittington? And would you, what do you think we're going to see more out of Atwell?
That's definitely the $1 million question. I feel like they, especially for Atwell's sake, like, it's a confusing situation, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the Over Rams action segment. I have a little Over Rams action topic about Tutu, but I think this Rams offense, I understand the argument about you have Devontae Adams, you have Puka Nacua, so why not utilize them? They're always open. Like, don't force it to other guys just to spread the ball around. But for me, I think it's like, yes, you should be targeting your number 1 and number 2 receivers a lot. But I also think that you should be able to mix things up and use some other guys, because specifically Jordan Whittington, I feel like always capitalizes on the opportunities that he's given, whatever role that is, whether it's special teams or whether it's on the offense, whether he's blocking, whether he's taking the ball. I think the Rams can definitely do a better job of spreading the ball around to keep the defense honest, because while it is working, while the defenses do know it's going to Devontae or Puka and it's still working, it's like you also you don't want to overuse them too early and wear them out in the season, especially with a guy like Puka who gets hurt like kind of often. So for me, I think the Rams have the depth to be able to dig in there with the Tutu Atwell, and then especially with the Jordan Whittington, to where I think they should be a little bit more involved. But it's hard. It's only been 3 weeks of the season. Like, you don't want to overreact to anything. But in my opinion, I think they could definitely spread out the targets a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think specifically in Whittington's case, like what you were saying, he's really made the most of his opportunities that he's had. And I don't know if you remember, but I had a what's more likely with Jordan Whittington last week of him getting I think it was a 30+ yard pass or something else, but he ended up getting one.
Yeah, he's definitely a very high upside guy, and we've talked about it before. I think he's definitely a guy who fits the Rams offense a little bit more than a guy like Tutu Atwell at this point, to where he can get more usage and more snaps just because of his frame and his ability to be like a running back, like a fullback at times if they need him to be. The Rams do typically like to lean into those kinds of receivers, so definitely has a lot of upside for sure.
We've talked a lot about the Rams, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the Colts going into this. Something underrated about this matchup, I think, is the coaching matchup. You got Sean McVay versus Shane Steichen here. Shane Steichen, he was on the hot seat coming into this year. When you heard about, the Colts owner, Miss Irsay, on the headset, you're like, oh, is she like eavesdropping to see if he actually knows what he's doing? Like, is she babysitting him? I think Shane Steichen has proven he's a good play caller through 3 weeks. And now that he has a quarterback who's staying healthy, and, he's a veteran quarterback, like, no knock against Anthony Richardson, but he was a rookie, learning kind of along the way. What are your thoughts on this coaching matchup?
It's a very good coaching matchup in my mind. I don't think a lot of Rams fans understand how good Shane Steichen is. And he's one of those guys that he kind of reminds me of somebody in the breath of like a LaFleur or a Shanahan, a McVay. Like, he's very good at what he does. And he's a really good coach in terms of drawing up good looks for both the passing game and the running game. I think a lot of the reason he doesn't get talked about is because of the instability at quarterback over the last few years. But you see now with like a quarterback who's able to play efficient on time, who's a veteran like Daniel Jones, you can see how this is all kind of coming together. So definitely a very good matchup. Definitely one that I don't think people talk about a lot. I don't know if the Colts are this good without Shane Steichen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why this game has the potential to be a barn burner is I think you have two good, play callers that know how to analyze what a defense is trying to do, that knows how to confuse a defense and put points on the board. And I'm not saying this is going to be like the highest scoring game of the entire NFL season, but I don't think it's unrealistic to think both teams get in the 30s plus.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of the vibe this game is having. Definitely very interested to see how this plays out with the Rams defense versus their offense. But I just want to bring up this comment here. I couldn't agree with this more. Rams Showcase says, Sean McVay's heart loves a 2-2 style player. Sean McVay's brain knows he needs a Jordan Whittington type player. I definitely think that's where it's at. It's like the idea and the potential behind everything with a fast wide receiver and a Rams offense sounds really appealing, but it always ends up being the guys like a Whittington, a Nacua, a Cup, a Woods that are the guys that McVay prefers for sure.
Yeah. Well, do you want to get into our segments here?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Start off with a little over Rams action Friday.
Oh yeah, let's put it up here.
Yeah. Here's a little hint into one of the topics here for you guys. We talked about Tutu Atwell a little bit this show already. If you guys are new to this show is based off of, or this little segment is based off of Rich Eisen's Overreaction Monday that he does, pitching hot takes, what Chris Brockman does to Rich Eisen, and see if we can get anybody to bite on it. Is it fair? Is it too hot? And we got our first topic here, and we are going to be talking about Tutu Atwell, of course. Was it a mistake to pay Tutu Atwell this season?
Ooh, that's a toughie. Okay, and for the record, I have not seen these. Okay. No, that's an over Rams action. It's too soon to tell. I know he's only got like one catch and like 2 targets. Or did he get a third target on Sunday? I think he's only had 2. It's too soon to tell. And again, they signed him 1 year, $10 million. There also is the underrated element of Tutu as a decoy in this offense that I know that's not something you want to pay a lot of money for, like a $10 million decoy. But I think that the way that Sean McVay has changed this offense, has planned out for Tutu Atwell, I think Sean McVay would even say he hasn't utilized Tutu as much as he would have liked. But I'm going to say that's an over Rams action. It's too soon. If ask me this question 6 games into the season, and then maybe it's maybe. But right now, I'm going to say that's an over Rams action.
I definitely think that's a fair take that you have there. Definitely too early in my mind, even with how limited he's been used. I think it's fair to raise question of like, what's the reasoning behind this? Because you just don't know. Is it just a matchup dependent? We still don't know as Rams fans. And I think it's interesting how many times Sean McVay has said, like, I have to do a better job getting Tutu involved.
Yeah.
Like, he said that a lot of times. We'll see if that ends up playing out at all. But I definitely think that only after 3 games, it could be too early to tell here. I know a lot of Rams fans have been saying that it's a mistake already just based on his production, but I don't think that you can assume that the rest of the year the production is going to stay the same. I think this is the worst start statistically to Tutu Atwell's season that he's had in his career with the Rams. So I think that's why a lot of Rams fans are overreacting to it. But I do think that we need to give it time. We do need to see, maybe it could be this Sunday. You never know. This Sunday he could pop off, because I've heard this Colts passing defense is not the best, and they lost Kenny Moore. So who knows? He could get more involved even this week.
Definitely. And the Tutu train is at the station. It's ready to go into high gear and stock that steam engine. It's gonna be plowing down the line.
Yeah. Here's what Sheriff Joe Baggs said. too early. If he catches the game winner in the NFC Championship, it's a good deal.
There you go.
Definitely agree with that. Definitely, he's got a lot of time to be able to do something. I think we're ready for a game winner there in the NFC Championship. I'm down.
Yeah.
And then Rams Mob says it's a 1-year deal. I don't think that was a mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely 1-year deal. I think it was fully guaranteed, $10 million. But we're definitely not tied like down the line for it. So we'll see. We'll see how the season goes. But that was our first one. To stay on the Tutu Atwell subject here.
Ooh.
Daniel Jones will have more rushing yards than Tutu Atwell has receiving yards this week.
You know, just based on how this Colts offense is going, and we haven't seen any sign that Tutu Atwell has this big receiving game coming, I'm going to say that's not an over Rams action. As much as I don't want that to happen, Daniel Jones he's going to have more opportunities to get those rushing yards on the edges for first downs like he does. Then I think Tutu will have targets this game. But again, who knows? This could be the game where McVay's like, oh yeah, Tutu, go off. Like we're throwing it to Tutu, bomb down the field, and Tutu's over 150 yards on the game. Who knows, right? Maybe back to 2013, Tavon Austin, that game.
Oh yeah,
right. Like Tutu, yeah. Oh, Rams Dom, same page. The Rams Dom, like if that game still gives Colts fans nightmares, right? Like wake up, Tavon Austin, right?
Nightmare fuel for sure.
If there was one player on the Rams who has the same kind of talent of Tavon, it would be Tutu. Now Tutu doesn't return punts the same way, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird. I feel like I've said this before, so I don't know how much stock you put into this, but like this does feel like a game where he at least makes a big play in the game, or he at least has a big deep bomb. Like I don't know why something about it may be the Tutu or the Tavon Austin thing that we were just talking about, but something about this game feels like there's about to be a big play for Tutu. But who knows?
Ooh,
who knows?
You said, and you heard it here first on whatever this name of this show is.
Yeah. All right, we got a juicy one here. So I talked to a Colts fan this week about his team, about his defense. He said he is worried about the pass rush a little bit. While they've had good numbers, he's not too confident in them. And they obviously lost their best corner in Kenny Moore this week, who was supposed to be on Puka Nacua most of the game. With Kenny Moore being out, Puka Nacua will have 200 yards this game.
That's hot. Man, that's a hot take. Puka, he's going at such an elite clip. I'm gonna say that's not an over Rams action. I think it could happen. I think it could, because we know Puka's gonna get targets. Like we know he's gonna have opportunities, and if the Colts corners can't defend him, yeah, this could be a big Puka Nacua game. Like I saw this comment here by Juno. Remember the last time the Rams and Colts plays? That was Puka Nacua's first career touchdown. One of my favorite Puka Nacua games ever.
The walk-off.
It could be. It could be. I'm going to say that's not an over Rams action for this Sunday.
Something feels like this game is going to be one of those games where like the passing offense is just in rhythm to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that. So I could definitely see this happening. You obviously have Devontae Adams to target there too, and he's gotten his fair share. Something about this game feels like it's not out of the question. And the crazy thing is too, Puka Nacua has played some pretty good slot corners this year. And last week he played against DeJean a lot, who's one of the best slot corners in the league. And he still had his weight. Like he's still putting up crazy production. And this week I heard that the Colts signed Mike Hilton just to kind of fill in that slot role. And I think that if he's doing up against really good slot corners, I think there's a chance he has a crazy day against an older one or against somebody who maybe hasn't ever played Puka before.
Yep.
So that That
That's a good
one would be fun. If we had a 200-yard day, I'm sure a lot of Colts fans would dislike Puka even more, just
Yeah.
because he had the dagger the last time they played. That would be crazy, though. All right, number 4. On a little bit more of a sad note, we know the Rams don't do great against tight ends. They do not match up against tight ends very well. Tyler Warren gets used all around in this offense, whether it's at running back, fullback, slot receiver, outside, whatever. They use him everywhere.
Yep.
The Rams won't be able to stop Tyler Warren.
Oh, went there. Unfortunately, that's not an over Rams action, especially if this Colts offense stays in rhythm the way that it's been. I think Tyler Warren will be a big reason why the Colts score, over 30 on Sunday. Tyler Warren is a problem for the Rams. He absolutely is a problem for the Rams. And yeah, that's not an over Rams action. It's it's going to be up to this Rams defense. Maybe one of our new favorite players, Nate Landman, comes in and is able to force a fumble or something and give Tyler Warren a little welcome to the NFL moment. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Sheriff Joe is on the same page as me here.
Yeah, you guys are thinking in sync there.
Yeah, same page. But yeah, I'm going to say that's not an over Rams action, just because, tight ends have kind of been annoying.
Yeah. The good thing about it is Tyler Warren can still have a really good game, and the Rams can still win.
Yeah.
And that's the positive thing. And if this game's going to go the way a lot of us think of, like more of a shootout kind of game, Tyler Warren can have as many yards and touchdowns as he wants, as long as the Rams win. That's what's most important. But definitely a guy to keep an eye on, because he's, I think, second in targets and receptions for the Colts, next to Michael Pittman. So he's going to be getting the ball a lot, and they use him in a lot of different ways that most offenses don't use tight ends. So definitely think you can have both those things of, like, Tyler Warren has a really good game, but the Rams still win. And hopefully, if he has a good game, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
All right. Our 5th and final over Rams action one.
Where are you going?
Daniel Jones will have his first turnover this game.
Ooh. He's due, right? He's due. I'm going to say that's not an over Rams action. I've been saying all offseason long, this Rams defense was built to generate turnovers primarily. I don't think it's crazy to think Daniel Jones. It's time, right? Like, do we really think Daniel Jones is going to go all 17 games with no turnovers? No. It's this absolutely would be a defense that can force a fumble or an ill-advised throw and pick off Daniel Jones. So I'm going to say that is not an over Rams action.
I agree with you. I think that this Rams defense is playing at a really high level. They're a defense that can create a turnover. This could be an interception, or it could be a fumble. It could be a strip sack. You never know. But I definitely think that it's about time for Daniel Jones to have a turnover. Yeah. And I think the kind of defense that the Rams have, I don't think it's an over Rams action to say he's going to have his first turnover this game.
Yeah.
So
I just see here that one of our resident Dolphins fans who just loves talking about the Rams, also Grandizer in the house, he added a 6-1 is over or under reaction. Daniel Indiana Jones throws for over 300 with a 100-yard rushing running back. I'm assuming Jonathan Taylor. If we think this is going to be the barn burner game that it's going to be, that's not crazy.
It's not. I feel like the part I'm having a hard time getting my head around is Jonathan Taylor having 100 yards rushing. I think with what the Rams were able to do against Saquon, I don't think they're going to have both parts of their offense just going smooth like that. Yep. So while I could potentially see 300 yards through the air from Daniel Jones, I don't know if I see 100 yards of rushing. Yeah, but that's a good one. That's a
really good one. Yeah, fair enough. Well, that was fun, dude. Well, those are great over Rams actions to react or underreact to. And are you cool if we go on to my what's more likely, but it's just the Rams segment?
Oh yeah, let's do this.
Let me bring up the title card here. Okay, we're trying to be more professional. Okay, so this, for those of you who are new, again, we copy the Rich Eisen show just because we like these segments like this and they're kind of fun. What's more likely, but we just talk about the Rams. I have some different scenarios here. Well, I will explain and say, hey, is this more likely or is this more likely? And we want you to play along in the chat of what you think is more likely. And then, Rams House, he'll give his sites. He has not seen these, so he'll be reacting raw, just like you guys will. And I had a lot of fun making these. And I'm going to start off with a juicy one here. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's more likely? Kobe Turner has 2 sacks versus the Colts, or Kyren Williams has two touchdowns on Sunday.
That's a good one. I'm going to say Kyren Williams has 2 touchdowns on Sunday. While he hasn't had a bunch of rushing touchdowns this year so far, like we have seen in years past, I think there's definitely legitimate stock to put into this Colts offensive line with how good that they've been talked about. So I think it would be more likely for Kyren Williams to have 2 touchdowns than it would be for Kobe Turner to have 2 sacks, in my mind.
That's fair. I don't know why, but I'm just predicting a big Kobe Turner game this game.
I can see it.
Just a vibe. So I'm actually going to say I think Kobe Turner has 2 sacks is more likely.
Ooh. This will be a fun one to check back up on after the game's done.
Definitely. Let's see. The next one. What's more likely to be the story on Monday if the Rams win this game? The Colts are frauds or the Rams are really good?
Definitely the Colts are frauds. I think just looking at it from the fact that a lot of people are ready for them to like crash down to earth, I've seen that talked about a lot. And I think that when you are only 3 games through a season and the Titans really, the Colts haven't really beaten any good teams other than the Titans, the Dolphins, sorry, Grandizer. And then even the Broncos where they barely beat them. I'm not too high on the Broncos other than their defense. I've seen a lot of people saying that they're ready for the Colts to crash down to earth. So I think that it'll be more of the conversation outside of us Rams fans will be talking about how the Colts are frauds in my mind.
Yeah, I guess that's context. I was specifically talking about like the mainstream media narrative. Obviously, Rams fans like us are going to be like, "Oh yeah, the Rams are the best."
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I think you're probably right there. Just because this week, like I reacted to the Pardon My Take game preview, they barely mentioned the Rams at all, and like they only talked about it for like 4 minutes, but like they talked about pretty much Daniel Jones. They talked about Jerry O'Connell appearing on Kelly Stafford's podcast. That didn't mention the Rams at all.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a team that's super unproven so far, and that's been such a like highlighted storyline, it feels like they're more ready to pounce on that than they're to be like, oh, the Rams are Super Bowl contenders, that kind of thing for me.
Yep. Okay. What's more likely? Jonathan Taylor has 150 yards rushing, or Puka Nacua has 150 yards receiving. I know we kind of talked about this earlier, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I still say Puka Nacua, and that maybe there's some bias in there, but we haven't seen a running back explode against this Rams defense yet this year. Even a guy like Saquon, who would put up like 400 combined yards of offense against us last year. So I'm optimistic. I think the changes that the Rams made in the offseason to address the run defense have really shown themselves. But even just another year of experience for this Rams defense seems to have shown a lot of like maturity and growth in terms of stopping the run. So
yeah.
Puka Nacua, 150 yards receiving, I would say is more likely than 150 Jonathan Taylor rushing yards. Although he is the leading running back in the NFL right now in terms of rushing yards, I just think the Rams have enough to be able to keep him under that mark.
Well, and last Thursday night's game aside, Puka Nacua did enter this week as the leading receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, good. What's more likely? Sean McVay challenges a Puka no catch in the first half, or Shane Steichen uses at least one timeout in the first quarter.
I don't know Shane Steichen's tendencies. So in that case, I would say Sean McVay challenges a Puka no catch. just because I don't know Shane Steichen too well. I don't really know how he manages the clock. Maybe we would present him with like such an exotic defensive look that they don't really like what the Colts offense is looking like against the Rams defense. I could see it there, but I would say maybe another Puka catch challenge in my opinion.
I think refs just got to stop saying Puka didn't catch it, because every time it gets challenges, it turns out he didn't catch it. Like, this dates back to his rookie year.
Yeah. I remember that crazy catch that he had against the Saints in his rookie year, the deep downfield, and he caught it, was dragged down for a lot of yards, and then like the ball came out at the very end, and they're like, "Did he catch that?" I was like, "He had it for like 3 seconds." Yeah.
Oh man,
The refs need to get off Puka's case in general, though. Like,
like
that taunting call.
taunting.
What confuses me about that one is like Puka does that all the time, and he's like the last player that you'd ever accuse of having a taunting call. And so like it's weird how he didn't even get a warning for that. Like it just randomly I don't know.
And he's literally not looking at any Eagles player specifically, but there are like 2 Eagles kind of waddling in his line of sight, and the refs are like, "Oh, throw the flag."
Yeah, I don't know.
What's more likely? The Rams defense gets a pick 6, or the Colts are forced to punt 3 times on Sunday?
This is a good one too, actually. I'm going to say we forced them to punt 3 times on Sunday. I know they've only done it once so far up to this point, but I have confidence in our defense. I'm not sure if I'm getting the vibe this week that we get a pick 6, but I'm not saying it's out of the question. I'm just going to say more likely they punt 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably tend to agree with that. I think that the Colts narrative of like they don't punt can only go on for so long, right?
Yeah.
It's the NFL, right?
Yeah, even for like a team who's proven to be good for all these years, like the Ravens, if that was a stat for the Ravens, it's like at some point that's going to come down, right?
Yeah. Looks like Rams Mob and Rams Showcase Sheriff Joe agree with us there. Yes. Okay, I got 2 more here for you. Okay.
Okay.
What's more likely? Devontae Adams catches the game-winning touchdown with less than a minute left, or Ethan Evans pins the Colts at the 1-yard line on a punt this game?
That's a good question. Will there be that many punts this game? That's another question.
Yeah, that's another question. I do like that idea.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Cam Curl pick 6. I like it.
This is a really good question, just because like it's really hard to know how this game is going to go. Like it feels like it's going to be high scoring, but will it? Like, will it come down to that? Oh man, would we see history repeat itself with a game-winning touchdown by a Rams receiver against the Colts? That's a good question. I'm just gonna go with the Adams touchdown. I don't know why. I'm just going with Adams touchdown.
Yeah, I'll probably go Adams touchdown too, but I don't think it's out of the question for Ethan Evans. Like he's due for pinning someone at the 1.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal punter, for sure.
Okay, final one. I had to give props to Joshua Carty because he's just doing so good with those kickoffs. What's more likely? Joshua Carty's dirty ball turns into a Colts turnover, or Stafford throws a 30-plus yard pass to Tutu Atwell on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm feeling the Tutu Atwell thing. I don't know what it is about this week. I'm going to go Tutu Atwell. I just feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 big impact plays he makes this week. So I'm going to put my faith in Tutu Atwell here.
I'm gonna go Joshua Carty's dirty ball. I think we've seen it all season long. The Eagles' performance, especially in that first half, was just phenomenal. And I think if the Rams like kick return coverage can get there, I see that dirty ball turning into a turnover at some point in the Rams' favor. And so I think that, wouldn't it be fun if the Colts' first turnover on the year was in fact because, like, think of it, start the game, Joshua Carty kicks it off to the Colts, turnover, and the Rams get the ball at like the 5-yard line.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be so fun. I'm here for that.
Yeah. I feel like it's funny because in my mind, I'm like, the Colts have to be watching the film after the Eagles game and seeing the way that we were kicking off those and like making them have such poor field position so many times and be able to practice against it. But it's also like, I think it's only us and the Jets that have been able to perfect that kick to
Yeah,
be able to use it to where it's like, how would they even practice it? Because I'm guessing that's something that you figure out and are able to get down as well as the Rams have in training camp. I don't think it's something that you can just like flip on a switch and
totally,
now like you're able to practice that. So you could definitely see, I could definitely see a turnover in that way. I just have
totally.
a feeling about Tutu Atwell this game for some reason.
Oh yeah, no, I like that. I like that. All aboard the 2-2 train. Yeah.
It's funny how we
Well,
both had him in our segments. Tutu
well,
Atwell.
it's because we care. It's because we care, right? Mainstream media doesn't care about
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell, but Rams media does.
Oh yeah, you got to put some respect on Tutu Atwell's name.
Yeah. Well, that was what's more likely, but it's just the Rams. That was fun. That was fun. Thanks
That
everyone
was
for playing
fun.
along.
Good topics.
Yeah. Speaking of good topics, I do see a couple questions from Grandizer that we'll get to. Appreciate that. But let's give some shout outs here. I see that friend of the show, especially your show, Johnny is in the
What's up,
chat.
Johnny?
Good to see Johnny, one of our resident Bengals fans. And then I also see one of my best friends, who's also a massive Colts fan, Jarrett, is here. He says so much slander happening.
You know, it's hard to take a little bit of Rams bias out of a Rams show when there's two Rams fans here. I will say that, but
Yes, and Jarrett is one of those people that just always reminds me about how special the Rams and Colts rivalry is the past decade.
yeah, definitely been a lot of good games for sure.
So let's see here. I'm gonna go to Grandize's first question is which team needs this win more? Rams to stay on pace with at the top of the NFC, Colts proving they can beat a top NFL team. Good question. What are your thoughts?
For me, oddly enough, I think the Rams need this game more. Just with the way the division is looking, it's looking a lot more competitive than it is for the Colts, who it's really like between them and the Jaguars at this point.
Yeah.
Um, I think too, if the Colts were to win this game, that's huge to show like maybe they're more for real. But I also think that if the Colts win this game, then a lot of people are going to be panicking about the Rams because it's like this up and coming team that nobody expected comes in and beats a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. For me, I would say this win's more important for the Rams, more so because of the division that they play in and the expectations that we had coming into this year. Whereas for the Colts, this has been more like a you're playing with house money kind of year.
Yeah. Well, and even like the narrative that the Rams are playing 3 games in 11 days, right? One of those games they've already lost to the Eagles.
Mm.
Then now you're playing a Colt. Like if you drop 2 of those 3 games, you're going into week 5, 2-2. You have the short week Thursday night matchup against the Niners. I definitely think that both teams need it, right? Every NFL team needs a win, but I'm gonna Ram fan bias, totally have that hat on. I'm gonna say the Rams need this a little bit more than the Colts does.
Mm-hmm. Especially like the Colts are undefeated at this point. The
Yeah,
Rams have already dropped a game. You don't want to lose back-to-back games going into a Thursday night game either. So I think it's close, but I would say it's more important for the Rams just given the expectations they already had and getting back on track. I think the response in this game to what happened last week is actually really important for this team to show like what they're really made of. It's like,
yeah,
can you bounce
absolutely,
back and correct those mistakes and have a big statement win after you dropped one that you should have won last week?
totally. Yeah. Another question from Grandizer. Besides Eric Dickerson and Marshall Falk, Rams and Colts connections, is there another connection between both teams that goes under the radar? Ooh, good question. Let me think. Those are the two that obviously come to mind right away.
Yeah.
Matt
I
Gay.
mean, yeah, Matt Gay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think it's a very much a stretch. It's not directly a Rams connection here, but Lou Anarumo coached against the Rams in the Super Bowl for the Bengals, and he's their defensive coordinator now. So
Right.
a little bit of familiarity. I feel like the Colts and the Rams don't overlap a ton, though. Unless we're missing something big here.
I think Matt Gay was probably the most recent one because he was with the Rams for so long and then he's not the Colts kicker anymore, but he was there.
I mean, you have that Abu Kham connection there.
Yeah.
He used to be on the Rams.
Yeah.
And I think Neville Gallimore, the defensive tackle, it's not a lot of pieces that are like huge, but yeah, yep. Samson Ebukam, Neville Gallimore, some of those kinds of players.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's like I feel like it's nothing huge. It's not like a huge like connection like the Eric Dickerson kind of thing.
Jared saying the early season Rams owner at the time agreed to trade Francis. That's true. Yeah, way back in the day.
Oh, that's a good one. Carson Wentz.
Yeah, the Carson Wentz connect. Judo Trooper coming in high. Yes.
That one, sometimes it's weird to think back to the Colts having Carson Wentz. Like, I remember us having him, but sometimes I'm like, I forget he played there.
Yeah. Oh, LaMarcus Joyner.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. Yeah.
I don't know why I feel like we're missing a really obvious one.
Yeah.
But I feel like the chat would help us out there if we had one that we were missing. So,
yeah. Chat coming in clutch. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Greenizer's asking, is Rams rookie tight end Terrence Ferguson going to play this game? I'm going to say yes. I'd be surprised if he's a healthy scratch in back-to-back games. What do you think?
I don't even know. I think it's a 50-50 shot. I'm going to say he's at least not inactive.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about. As far as how much he's used in this game, I wouldn't expect a whole lot, but you never know. Maybe they pull him out this week.
It is weird to think just literally a week ago on this show, we talked about how, and I know Sheriff Joe Bag has been talking about this, like maybe they're just saving Terrence Ferguson for this Eagles game. And then on Sunday, we get the notification that he's a healthy scratch for the game. We're like, I guess they're not saving him for the Eagles game.
That one was really weird too, because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Colby Parkinson was even active. Was he last week?
Was it just Davis Allen and Higg?
That's from what I remember. Maybe it was more so he was trending towards not playing, but he ended up playing. But even with that, it's like you would think with that situation playing out that Ferguson would have been active.
Yeah.
But I think Between the Horns talked about this a little bit. That was like maybe the Rams knew going into this game they really weren't going to use their tight ends and they're going to rely a lot more on their wide receivers. So why would you have an extra guy active that just doesn't really end up seeing the field?
It's a personnel thing. That makes sense. Yeah. Great answers asking, wasn't Tutu Atwell the player that has disappointed thus far? And I'll add on, like he did. I guess we missed this question last week, but I'm glad you brought it up here. Which Rams player has been the biggest disappointment thus far this season? Is it Tutu? Is it Terrence Ferguson? Someone else?
Mm-hmm. I think Tutu Atwell
for a reader.
Yeah, I think Tutu Atwell, not because of anything he's done wrong, but more so because of how much the Rams are talking about that they're going to use him more. And McVay kind of alluded to that, and even Tutu himself alluded to that, of like him having a bigger role this year. So I think it's kind of uncontrollable for Tutu, but he's one of those guys where you expected more. But I think Ferguson's been a little bit more disappointing in a different way, just because it's like you're trying to figure out what he has to do to be able to get on the field. Is it really just his blocking that needs to improve, or is it really like we don't need to rush him out there right now? We already have good enough tight ends, and they don't see that much of a difference.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, we have unfortunately Limmers in that conversation of disappointment.
But see, I feel like with Bo Limmer, his is a little bit more justifiable because he's been playing out of position.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty decent at center last year, and his biggest weakness was like calling things out like Coleman Shelton's been able to do. But I don't think you should expect a bunch from a guy who's playing a position that isn't his primary. I think yes, he can do a lot better for sure. But I also think there's like context in that where it's like he's played both the guard positions, and he's more of a center. So I don't know.
I think after the Eagles game, Darius Williams might be on that list.
Yeah, especially because when Akella Witherspoon was healthy, Darius wasn't even really getting in the game to begin with. So
yeah. So okay, those are kind of the ones off the top of our head here. Porter asked a question here, and before we go to Grandizer's other question is, Porter, thanks for this. What's more likely, we get a turnover for 4 weeks in a row, and what 17? I'm not sure what you mean. Wait, and what 17 play better? Not sure what you mean by that last part there, Porter. Sorry.
I can't think of anybody significant on the Colts that's wearing 17 because that's. Oh wait, Daniel Jones. So I think he's saying is Devontae Adams or Daniel Jones gonna have a better day.
Oh, okay.
That's probably what.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. I think that makes sense. Ooh, that's a good. I just like we were saying before. We think the Colts are due for a turnover. I'm gonna say the Rams get a turnover for the 4th week in a row, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think a turnover is incoming. As far as which 17 plays better, that's a really hard one because they play different positions.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time.
Like unless Devontae just goes off, right?
Yeah,
which is possible.
And I definitely think he'll make his impact for sure. But it's like that Daniel Jones is going to make his too.
Yeah.
Maybe you can look at it more so of like who's going to make the bigger mistake potentially, because maybe Daniel Jones has a turnover or two to where Devontae Adams just by virtue had a better game.
Yeah,
that's a good question though.
That's really hard.
What do you think, Porter?
Yeah, thanks. And then one last question here from Grandizer is when you get to your score prediction for Rams versus Colts matchup, do you also have a player of the game in the win? Yeah, I've been wrong a lot when it comes to my just overall vibe of these games. And I think that's normal for early on in the year, but I really do think this is going to be a game that's going to be a higher scoring game. I think the vibes are there. The injuries kind of favor both teams' offenses striking up the scoreboard. I'm going to say Rams win this 37-31. And I think that Devontae Adams has the best game of anyone on the field.
That's a nice bold prediction there at the end with the Devontae Adams stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Rams end up winning this game 30-27.
Okay.
I think it's going to be high scoring.
Close. Ooh.
I think definitely whoever has the turnover in the game or more turnovers is going to lose. Not a hot take for sure. I really feel Puka Nacua this week. Like, he's been so consistent, so good, but with the injury of Kenny Moore, I just don't know how they're going to stop him. And it's hard to double team a guy when they're playing the slot a lot too. And he already gets a bunch of targets from Matthew Stafford, so I think this is going to be a big Puka Nacua game.
Okay, I'm here for that. I can take Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Tutu Atwell. You know what? Even if Troy Reader is the hero of this game, I'm ready for it. And I stand by my prediction. He's going to get a pick six against the Saints. I'm sticking with that. It's saying Jones interception and a fumble. There's lots of great questions there. We'll start wrapping up our stream here shortly, guys. But appreciate y'all tuning on in. Porter has one last question. This is our last question of the night here from Porter. How do you guys feel that the Seahawks won yesterday? Do you think that is good or bad, or should full Rams or should the Rams win the division? I still think the Rams will win this division based on the Niners, injuries. And I will say this. I was wrong about the Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks were going to take a step back. They've clearly proved me wrong 3 weeks into it. Sam Darnold has played, efficient football, similar to the Colts. Actually, I think they've done quite well. I'm not convinced that the Seahawks are ready to make that next jump into like a Super Bowl contending team, but I do think that the Seahawks end off the year in a wild card spot. But what are your thoughts on the Seahawks win yesterday over the Cardinals?
Yeah, for me, I was definitely pulling for the Cardinals to win that game. It's always hard to know who to root for in the division when it's so early on, like who you want to lose more. For me, I see the Seahawks as more of a threat than I do the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Especially like this is a team that usually starts hot and then begins to tail off.
Yeah.
But even like their start hasn't been all that hot either. So like I'm not worried. Like I'm a lot less worried about the Cardinals than I am the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks have a better floor and a better potential to compete with the Rams in the division this year. So I wish the Cardinals would have won that one. But I'm also like thinking about the Rams face off against the Seahawks head to head. I see us winning those games. And I think you put it a good way. It's like they may have a good team, but I don't think that they're at the point right now where they're like legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
I think their defense is really good. Their offense is doing enough. They have good special teams. But for me, I would say that like when I think about the Rams and Seahawks facing off head to head, I still think that we have a good advantage over them.
Yep, I agree. Well, that's going to do it for this week's unnamed Rams Friday night show. The Rams, this is awesome. I'm glad we did this 3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody who's been in the chat interacting. Thank you, Grandizer, for helping to moderate and give us some comments there as well. But always have fun talking Rams with you guys. You guys make the show what it is. Even one of your names eventually is going to be suggested as our name for this show. Who knows when that is? Hopefully by next week we're going to have a name for this show. But
that's our goal. That's our goal.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
We'll see what ends up happening though. But yeah, thank you guys all for stopping in tonight. Just making a part of your evening be spent with us, and always enjoy talking Rams with Peo.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise. I'll be doing a watch party for the Rams Colts on Sunday. Our post-game reaction live stream on Sunday for you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be doing that post-game reaction right after the game, and then I should have the preview out because it's going to be a short week against the 49ers next week. Should have that out on Tuesday. So
yeah. I do like this people watching the show, just the show,
or like the Peo and Rams house show, like something super generic.
There, yeah. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Saturday, and we will see you all in the next Rams video or live stream. Go Rams, horns up, and peace out.